Start here this morning with the new information coming in right now about the co-pilot who allegedly crashed.
In photos, he appeared to be a healthy young man, but it now appears that Andreas Lubitz struggled with severe depression and that he may have hid it from his employers, all in an effort to try and retain his job.
You know, this raises all sorts of questions about the psychological screening for the pilots who fly all of us, and we're going to speak to our aviation expert in just a moment. But our coverage begins this morning with Alex Marquardt in the co-pilot's hometown in Germany. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, Dan. That's right. Investigators here in Germany furiously digging into the past of Andreas Lubitz, looking for any clues desperately in his medical history that might give some indication, shed some light into why he intentionally took that plane down along with 149 other people.
This morning, a fuller and darker picture is emerging of co-pilot Andreas Lubitz. The 27-year-old who appeared happy, healthy, good at his job was harboring a secret, a medical condition that German prosecutors now say even his bosses at Lufthansa didn't know about. The deceased hid his illness from his employer and colleagues, he says. Investigators have been scouring Lubitz's apartment in Dusseldorf, which neighbors say he shared with his girlfriend. You can see the two names on the buzzer. Inside, in the trash, they found two torn-up doctor's notes saying Lubitz was too sick to work, including one for the day of the crash. Prescriptions for medications also thrown away. German media is reporting that Lubitz suffered from depression. Back in 2009, it reportedly forced him to interrupt his pilot's training while in Arizona. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Lubitz was worried the airline would find out about his illness. Facts ABC News has not confirmed.
It is not unheard of for pilots to keep from their employers medical conditions that they feel might ground them. It's one of the few professions where if you are ill, certain illnesses are not tolerated and you're not allowed to fly.
2 weeks ago, Lubitz was treated at a Dusseldorf hospital, but the hospital says it was not related to depression. Now at the little flight school where Lubitz learned his love of flying, they're stunned.
I was shocked. There was nothing. I was just shocked.
It was with this club that Lubitz would travel, taking their gliders to soar over the beautiful peaks and valleys of the French Alps, just a short distance from the very spot where a few years later he would bring down that plane.
German authorities have so far declined to say whether Lubitz did suffer from a mental illness. Lufthansa, however, today saying that all new recruits undergo a rigorous psychological testing, but then once they're accepted, the focus is then on physical health. Paula?
Alex Marquardt, thank you. And we want to bring in veteran pilot and ABC News aviation consultant John Nance, who joins us from Seattle this morning. Hi, John. Thank you for joining us. And first and foremost, we put our lives in their hands on a daily basis. A lot of folks worry, thinking, how do I know if my pilot is mentally stable to fly my plane? What do you say to those concerns?
Well, basically what has worked for us for so long, certainly in the United States, North America in general, is that we watch each other pretty well. We don't have any method of psychological testing on an ongoing basis. And that's something that even though there are going to be voices calling for that, we need to be cautious because people can still lie about their condition.
Yeah, here we are talking about mental health, mental illness once again. In many fields, an employer is not even allowed to ask the employee about his or her mental health. So what more do you think can be done about screening pilots for psychological problems, John?
Well, I think first we've got to know everything that happened here and how this individual hid what he hid, because one of the questions is, if anything that we put in place, a change, is going to be a massive, extensive change in psychological testing on an ongoing basis, we've got to have a reasonable capability of finding these things out, and that may not do it. I think basically we may be looking at just the physiological things of, for instance, making sure we have no fewer than 2 people in the cockpit. That may be a much better way of going.
Yeah, 2 people in the cockpit. It's a good way to start. John Nance, thanks for joining us this morning from Seattle.
So many open questions still, and we will be covering this story around the clock on abcnews.com.